Hi there. This Supervisor Assist video will walk through the configuration required to enable SA so it can interop with an Avaya environment using Service Observe as a means to allow a contact center supervisor or team lead to silently listen to a call in real time between the contact center rep and the customer that they're talking to. The Avaya platform has two different ways for a supervisor to listen in on an agent's call with the customer. The first uses a feature called Service Observe, and the second uses the multiple registration feature. Configuring SA with multiple registration is covered in another video. This video will focus on the config required within SA using Service Observe to enable audio monitoring. The installation and initial setup of Supervisor Assist has already been covered in another video, so we're going to build on that here and show how to set up a telephony link between SA and the AES, which will allow Supervisor Assist to get the status of each device it's monitoring and also to observe the audio once it's in a call. An important point to note before we go on is that the required APIs for audio monitoring are only available in AES version 6.1 and onwards. Here's an overview of what we'll be covering in this video. We'll create a telephony link between SA and the AES and verify it works using the test tool within SA's administration portal. The Avaya environment has already been configured with the items listed here, and we'll review these shortly. Supervisor Assist comes with a pre-configured administrator user account. In order to set up the telephony link, we need to first log in as an admin and click on the administer link. This page lets us create our new telephony link, which allows SA to set up a new CTI connection to the AES. When choosing the telephony link provider, we get a number of different options. Let's choose Service Observe and give our telephony link a name. Now we need to specify the credentials required to allow SA to connect to the AES. These need to have already been created on the AES. We'll look at the config there in just a few moments. SA will invoke the DMCC service in order to cause the Service Observe media forking function to be triggered on the device. So we need to enter the name of the switch as AES knows it to be and the DMCC port used by the AES. The next two items here allow you to define a contiguous range of virtual stations that must be exclusively reserved for Supervisor Assist to use. SA will own and use this range of station IDs via the DMCC API to reserve the monitoring audio sent by the agent device. Think of these extensions as virtual supervisor station IDs. When setting these stations up, there are a few things to remember. Number one, they must be configured as IP soft phones. Number two, they must have a Service Observe button configured. The third is that the core that they are associated with must allow them to Service Observe agents. And lastly, they must all have the same extension security code. It's this security code we need to enter in the password field here. The last step is to define the SA server's cluster address. This will have been defined using the initial configuration steps of SA. In our case, it's the IP address of the server, but could be a fully qualified domain name. We can then save our configuration, which will automatically start the telephony link. There we are. The link is now up and running. The test button on the right allows us to easily check everything is working as expected. So now we need an agent device logged in so we can start to monitor it. You can see now that we get notified of our device's call state. Let's put a call into it. There we go. Now we can start to listen in on the call going on at that agent device. Now that we've seen the configuration required within SA and tested it too, let's briefly look at the configuration on the Avaya side. The Supervisor Assist Avaya integration guide has much more detail, but here's a quick overview of what's needed. Let's start by looking at the DMCC port configuration. The thing to note here is that you'll need to enable the unencrypted DMCC communication port setting from within the AES management console. Next is the creation of the CTI user that SA will use to talk to the AES. The majority of these fields don't really matter. However, the CT user property must be set to yes. And in terms of the agent station configuration, for all of the agent stations that will be monitored by Supervisor Assist, we need to make sure that data restriction is turned off. Without this, call observation just won't be possible. And for those agent stations that are SIP devices, we need to make sure that the 3PCC enabled type is set to Avaya. And lastly, the class of restriction settings must allow the agent stations to be service observed. As I mentioned earlier, the Avaya integration guide has a lot more detail than is covered in this video. Now that we've seen how to configure an Avaya telephony link using Service Observe within Supervisor Assist, take a look at some of our other SA videos, such as those that demonstrate the agent and supervisor applications. Thank you.